Okay, good morning. It is, well, it's not even morning now. It's like 11 o'clock. Got a little bit of rain showers out there. We take a look here at the camera from Mount Tamalpais, and it's been raining, quarter inch. Some places up in the Marin County watershed, over a quarter of an inch. But over the next couple of days, we got rain in the forecast, but it's nothing like the beast that went through here a couple days ago. That was a 10 out of 10. And what comes next are not 10 out of 10s. They're more, 3, 4 out of 10s. In other words, tenth of an inch, quarter of an inch, half an inch over the next 2 days. And then bam, just in time for Thanksgiving, Wednesday, Thursday, money. And then we get a few scattered sprinkles possible on the weekend. I'll show you the computer model. We'll look at some rain totals. We'll look at the snow in the mountains. We'll talk about water quality at Ocean Beach. I had an interesting message yesterday regarding that. Water quality, because everybody surfs now, right? So, and I've been surfing out there, me and my friends, for 45 years, almost 50 years now 45 years. But either way, we always surfed through the big storms. But if you really think about Ocean Beach, think about the bay, think about Sacramento River, think about all the rivers and creeks and everything that floods into that and ends up in the bay, and then comes out through that little gap at the Golden Gate Bridge. It all comes out there. It all on the low outgoing tide. So all the junk, all the pesticides, all whatever stuff you're worried about coming from the Central Valley, which God knows what comes from there, right? I'm just joking. I kind of grew up there. But, it comes out through the gate. And that is potentially, make you sick as heck. And I have been sick as heck. I was actually hospitalized like 15 years ago after surfing a storm because of I got bad pneumonia, like bacterial pneumonia, which was fortunate they could cure it. But the guy goes, "You're like 12 hours from being done, dude," because I never had pneumonia. I never used to get sick. But anyway, I got sick a couple bad times from that. So water quality, we'll look at that, or we just did talk about it. So it's one of those things where if you're a surfer, if you're a dolphin club member, the guys that swim in the bay, I used to do that too. You want to pay attention to this stuff because you'll probably be fine. Most folks are, but there are some nasty things floating around out there. And there was a legend once. Gosh, I'm just rambling, but there was I don't know if it's a legend, but Ocean Beach over the years, the surfers, we all know each other. Most of them back in the day were firemen, fishermen, cops. Just different dudes, guys who had, and women who had the day off, right? It wasn't a weekend thing; it was a lifestyle thing. And so, people who especially the fishermen or the guys, the professional divers, the hard hat divers, we had those guys too that were working on sites within the bay that were actually top secret inside the bay. I mean, some of these stories, right? But one of them was that back after World War II, and it may be true that they did dump a lot of radioactive stuff off the coast. Now I don't know what that means, but I remember we had a few guys come up with things that didn't seem right, but it was it's more legend than anything. But I'm just saying, water quality is a big deal, especially when you submerge yourself in it. Okay, so back to water. These are the rainfall accumulations over the last 24 hours, and what you're looking at are, remember the colors, how we work this. So the darker colors represent, these light colors represent under a quarter of an inch. And then these darker greens represent over that. And then the blues represent a half inch. And remember reds, and we saw purples in the last storm. Well, look where all the rain is. This is Santa Cruz Mountain south. And that's how it's going to be the next couple of days. Big Sur coming in at almost an inch of rain in the last 24 hours. That's how this next set of systems goes, especially tomorrow's. It's going to have a real southerly bent to it. This North Bay number, you see that number there? That's anomalous, right? So you get a number like that. If you're looking at these, this is CNFRC, California River Forecast page. When you're looking at these pages, if you see an outlier like that, it's an outlier. It's just out like this 189 up by Orville or Yuba City. So, and then we're just looking on the west slope, kind of checking it out. And the north coast, everybody getting kind of a break from this last weather system, or from that last massive weather system, which is nice. Let the creeks come down. And like I said yesterday, probably the perfect storm in terms of when we got it, how it worked out for us, and where the water fell. This is up in the mountains. It looks a little wet. Temperature, the high in Truckee today is going to be 39 degrees. So it's not quite, freezing. It is freezing on the mountain passes, and it was freezing this morning in Truckee. I'm just saying that it's not that cold yet, and it does. This pattern isn't a real cold pattern, but it'll be cooler. And I've had reports up in a buddy of mine, Bill Hudson, who is the Palisades. He's kind of one of the dudes up there. He was an Olympic ski racer, awesome guy. But he was telling me yesterday, after that storm, this is Castle Peak, after that storm, they were blasting the ridge lines in the morning, the ski patrol, which is a good indication they did get a couple feet of snow. When you don't go blast the ridge line if you got 6 inches, and they're blowing cornices. So that was a good sign. They got a lot of snow, and they got more snow on the highways, but you can see they're open and moving. We can take a peek at Truckee. And like I said, they're going to hit 39 degrees today. Pardon me. Still got that cold hanging on a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. That rain shadow, look how it just affects Truckee, right? On the west side, they got a foot, 6 inches. This side, not much. And if you look close, you can see a few scattered snow flurries. Okay, so let's see. We go to the satellite image. I'll push this over this way. Let's see if I can do this for you. And the satellite, just because you got to look at it, right? And you can see, what do you see? I mean, you can see where the moisture is coming from. That's kind of mid-latitude stuff, that low line coming in. And then you can see this other area let me see if I can show you this here. So this area here, see how that's kind of rotating in? That's cooler air for sure, but you see it really hasn't infiltrated the Sierra Nevada yet, that cold air. This warmer air. The cold air hasn't quite yet, but it will. And it'll get cold, and they'll get snow. I mean, that winter storm warning is in effect through tomorrow up there. The models do this. This is right now, essentially. And you can see those. This time I'll remember to put a circle around the Bay Area. But this is the GFS. I know you can go to other sites, and other guys and women and people who do this will show you multiple models. That's important. We don't have that kind of time here. If I look at multiple models, that's good. And then I'll show you this, and then I'll tell you what the divergences are from the other models. There always is something. But if you get too into, one of the things I struggle with sometimes, especially meteorologists, when they get, when you're in an event, like we were in that big event up in last week, Friday, Saturday, or Friday specifically, but they're looking at the models closely, and the models can't keep up. Okay, big secret here. Not a secret. It's just this will make sense to you. You know how we send weather balloons up twice a day from the major airports, weather balloons? Typically, this is where the data comes from that feeds the models. Well, that's Oakland Airport, San Francisco Airport, San Jose Airport. 3 data points twice a day. So somewhere in the 12-hour period, there's no accounting for what the atmosphere is doing. Does that make sense? So in other words, those inputs aren't steady enough. And there are other ways. They're using satellites now to derive temperature, humidity, whatever. But we still basically rely on, as far as I know, weather balloons. And so the data inputs there's not a lot. Twice a day at 3 airports. And in the California, I should know all this, but I think there's LAX, San Diego, there's probably, I should know this, but I think let's say there's 20. I don't think there are, but let's say there's 20 airports in California. That's 20 data points for the largest state by far in the United States, and that's not enough. You're not covering from San Jose to Redding. There's a lot going on in there, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, when you get into an event, it's better to look at the satellite and the radar, and certainly look at surface observations, look at analysis. And then you can go, oh, this is what's happening, and this is what's going to happen or continue to happen. The models are just playing catch up a lot of the times. I know I'll get heat for that, but I do feel that way. And I'm sure things have changed over the last 40 years that I've been doing this, but it hasn't changed that much. Okay, so here's the model. There we are. Here goes the system a little south. That's 24 hours from now. Or no, it's 6 hours from now, so that's this afternoon. And then tonight, you see the mountains have a bullseye. And then there we are into tomorrow. And you see that tomorrow system come through. So this is 24 hours from now. And then this is your holiday weekend. Check it out. Boom. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wednesday, Thursday. I think we're into Friday. Yeah, we're into Friday. We're into Saturday. We're into Sunday. So that's awesome. So the weather looks good. Okay, Ocean Beach, talked about water quality. You can actually see the water. You can actually see that the water quality is a little, something's different, right? There's more sediment, obviously, all the runoff. Think of all that water coming out through that little hole, and it ends up right here. You can kind of see the murkiness in the water. So think about water quality when you go out. Models are derived. The data that goes into them, maybe not as much as we'd like to see. So we talked about that, and I think we're good. I'll throw up the 5-day, and you can look at that. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Appreciate all the conversations. The conversation about the Great Hive was interesting. A lot of really, it's right down the middle. Some people are like, close it. Some people are like, don't close it. It's killing us. So it's sort of it's a hot spot for sure. And I'm going to stay out of it, man, because that's not my house. I didn't buy a house out there. And I would say this, the Great Highway, I love it. That's like my second home. My parents grew up in West Portal, for Christ's sake. My grandparents grew up in San Francisco. My great-grandparents grew up. So, but if you bought a house out there and that was a road and your streets were quiet, because they were really quiet. But the issue with the Great Highway, in my understanding, a lot of it is that you're loading up the surface streets a bit. And it changes your environment. You buy a house, it's like somebody builds a park next door. That's kind of awesome, but maybe you didn't want a park next door, or you would have moved next door to a park. So I do understand both sides. So don't get on me. I'm out of it. I want you guys to get what you want. Okay, that's enough. Thanks for listening.